Hello friend, I want to tell you about the Renault Modus car. French car manufacturers have many unusual designs to their credit, which due to their originality have never found a wide group of buyers. The list of the worst-selling cars in Europe includes primarily large limousines such as the Renault Velocity, Peugeot 607, or Citroën C6. There have also been failures with small cars, and the best example of this is the Renault Modus. Does the low popularity indicate a high failure rate? In the first 3 years of production, only 400,000 cars found buyers. In order to slightly improve the unfavorable situation, in 2008, the Renault concern decided to slightly modernize the minivan. Among other things, the front bumper, radiator grille, headlights, and rear lights were changed. There were also a few cosmetic modifications to the interior. Access to light bulbs was also improved. Replacing them in pre-facelift models required the help of a specialist. At the same time, an extended version of the Grand Modus with an increased wheelbase and a more capacious trunk was introduced to the offer. In turn, the 1.5 DCI diesel engine has been equipped with a particulate filter. The car smokes less, but the service costs increase significantly in the case of city use. In 2012, the last Modus units rolled off the Spanish Renault factories in Madrid and Valladolid, which was replaced by a crossover with the charming name Captur. Renault Modus does not offer a very rich range of engines, but putting a larger engine under the hood of such a small car would not make much sense anyway. In addition, good acceleration is one of the last features required from a minivan. If you have a different opinion on this subject, the Modus will certainly not be to your taste. On the other hand, the Opel Meriva has a much more powerful version of the OPC. On the other hand, flexibility is always useful. Even if you don't drive very fast, you won't be dragging behind tractors or trucks. There should be no shortage of power in the 1.2 TCE turbocharged versions, in the naturally aspirated 1.6L variant, and in the most powerful diesel version 1.5 DCI. Unfortunately, the first engine is present in trace amounts on the European used car market, the second burns a lot, and the last one often breaks down. They are not speed demons, but occasional overtaking of cars on the road should not be a problem for them. Weaker units tire a bit, but there are many more such cars. Failure rate? Petrol engines do not cause serious problems in operation apart from oil leaks and ignition coil failures, a problem with the 1.4L and 1.6L versions. What about diesels? Defects most often occur in early production models, where the injection system is often damaged. In addition, the turbocharger is capricious, and sometimes, like in petrol engines, oil leaks occur. Most cars in this class are not particularly complicated, which is why they break down less often and are easy to repair. The Modus's front suspension features McPherson struts, while the rear suspension features a torsion beam. The French minivan's engines can be paired with 4 gearboxes, a 5 or 6-speed manual, a 4-speed automatic, and a 5-speed automated. Regardless of the engine version, the drive is always transmitted to the front wheels. Safety? As befits contemporary Renault models, it is at the highest level. In Euro NCAP crash tests, the Modus achieved a sensational result of 5 stars. Before you decide on a specific Renault Modus, you must first check whether the car you have chosen has been visited by an authorized service center due to a faulty steering gear. If not, you will most likely have to do this repair yourself, and of course at your own expense. Be sure to also check the condition of the suspension. The quickest to give in are not only the stabilizer links, but also the shock absorbers and wishbones. As befits a French car, there are still problems with the electrics. In some models, the electric windows are faulty, and others, a lot of trouble is caused by the bulbs that burn out all the time. Replacing them in the pre-modernization Modus is not at all easy. The headlights are also not one of the car's strong points. The biggest curse of the Renault Modus, however, is the particulate filter, which you will find in some models with a diesel engine. Since the vast majority of users drive their car mainly in the city, it will be necessary to replace it after a few years of use. Fortunately, more and more companies offer services of replacing the insert or completely removing the filter. Then the costs of servicing this component drop from several thousand to about $150 to $250. Despite the passage of time, the Renault Modus is still holding up quite well. However, a lot depends on the condition of your model and the engine version you choose. What deserves praise in the French minivan? First of all, the practical interior, in which many useful storage compartments are hidden. It is also worth mentioning the attractive price. For relatively little money, you can have a car that is only a few years old. You can't complain about the ride comfort either. For such a small car, it is at a very good level. Among the equipment options, a sunroof is a pleasant surprise. Disadvantages? Slightly overcomplicated body styling. It was supposed to be original, but is weird, unsophisticated dashboard design, poor quality interior materials, poor performance. No version of the Modus can compete with the Opel Meriva OPC, unreliable diesel engines and problems with resale. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.